What's up, Coinist Nation? Welcome back to the show. This is the Coinist Podcast. I'm the host, Luke. We're going to be having discussions with top funds, analysts, exchanges. All you guys know that have tuned in already. But if you're new here, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, or if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, hit that subscribe button, because I feel like I've said this a couple times, but the next couple conversations, episodes, really for the rest of the year that are coming out, I really do not want you to miss. I'm excited to be having them, and I think that if you're a trader or just a passive investor interested in the crypto asset class or interested in investing in Bitcoin, they're conversations, and it's a level of access that I think everyone will really enjoy. So excited to bring you those. But before we get ahead of that, today's episode is special. A lot of the news coming out lately in crypto. You had the Backed launch, which ton of speculation has been made whether or not that's bullish or bearish for Bitcoin. Clearly, we haven't seen a short-term impact on price. The other big launch this week is Binance US, and it's especially important for a group of traders based here in the US, in America, that continually are getting geo-blocked and fenced out of other platforms. And it's leaving a lot of traders and investors wondering, will I even have an option? Right now there is Coinbase and Gemini, and sure, there's maybe one or two other exchanges, but Binance coming to the US as the most successful exchange elsewhere in the world, this is huge. And so I figured with them launching today, it was the perfect time to sit down with Catherine Coley, who's the CEO of Binance US, figure out everything that you need to know about getting started on that platform. How is this platform different from Binance elsewhere? Where is that liquidity going to come from? How are they adding new tokens? All these different things. How are they going to be successful where maybe Coinbase and other platforms just haven't been adding tokens? How do they beat those other exchanges? How do they view those other exchanges? Also, her background and a fun story on, it seems like a lot of traders from Hong Kong just launched exchanges. She actually knew Arthur Hayes before all this thing, before they both made the leap into crypto. So I think you are really going to enjoy this episode. I learned a ton from Catherine, both about Binance, but it was also enjoyable to, in crypto, you get to meet and learn about developers, or meet and learn about project leads, or who's running these exchanges. Everyone knows CZ with Binance, but I think everyone after this episode will also get to know Catherine and enjoy it as well. It was a pleasure. And for everyone that's out there, if you do want to get set up on Binance, link is right down below. If you want to follow Catherine, which I recommend you do, because you're going to need to be in the know with all the updates happening to Binance US. Her info is also right down below this video. Follow on Twitter, and that's all I got. If you enjoy the episode, I always say this at the beginning, but I truly do mean it. I appreciate all the feedback, comments, replies, retweets. If you comment below this video or leave a rating on iTunes, I can't say enough about how cool it is to continually get feedback and actually have people tuning in. I know the crypto has been so slow lately, right? August and September, especially for Bitcoin, that some people are kind of just turning it off or not wanting to look at it. But if you are still tuning in, right, not trading, but want to come here and learn, I really do appreciate if you leave some feedback. So if you're on iTunes, drop a rating. I can't thank you enough if you do that. Also on Twitter, just reach out. Let me know what you think. Appreciate all the feedback that I get, and I appreciate you for tuning in. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the show. Enjoy.
You are listening to the Coinist Podcast.
All right, we're good. We're live. Today, I am joined by Catherine Coley of Binance US. Catherine, thank you so much for finding the time and coming on.
Absolutely appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. We were just laughing before the show started about how easy this was. I mean, it was too easy. I was like a little bit shy. I thought I was talking to maybe a scam Catherine Coley account on Twitter, but it takes me a while to finally get to CZ. I message you once and you say, "Sure, I'm on."
Perfect grammar though. That's how you know I'm not a bot.
Exactly. That was the telltale. But no, like I said, extremely appreciative of your time. You just got done with an AMA. How was that?
First jitters out of the way. The world knows how my voice sounds now, so we can move on from there.
You were a natural. It came. It turned out well. Are you used to at your previous jobs? We'll talk about those. You worked with Ripple and you worked at was it Morgan Stanley? I don't know, two other companies in the FX space. You probably didn't have to deal with thousands of people saying, Wen Moon or my fund Safu, or thousands of these. I mean, you have fans at Binance. Binance has fans. I wouldn't say you have fans, but Binance has fans.
Yeah. People will learn to know that I'm just a random person on the side of the street. So I'm a big believer in the anti demigod, and I really hope there isn't a fandom or a cult following. I strongly believe that Binance US, the big winners here are the users. So uh, discourage people from creating shrines and certain worship circles dedicated to users and people in crypto. I think it's all just an access ramp for us to have our own independence.
Yep. That and a lot of memes. Look out for those. But
Good for me.
let's jump right into things. Before Binance, which you're in go mode, you have a lot of things going on. We're at phase 2, I believe, and we'll talk about what phase 2 is versus phase 1 and what's next for Binance US. All those things that traders and investors want to know. But before this, how did you get to here? You're now the head of one of the largest exchange launches in the US. What were you doing before this? You're with Ripple and then working in FX. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I like to kind of give the plateau that says if crypto can give anyone a platform to be able to apply what they've learned and really reach for the stars, this is it. So I started out really focused on global connectivity. I studied abroad a ton in university, and really found the differences in cultures and just the way the world worked around those discrepancies, creating an inefficiency in markets fascinating. So I channeled that into flinging myself halfway around the world to Hong Kong to start on the FX trading floor at Morgan Stanley. I was an intern there and scrappy, tried to learn as much as I could early on, would make the traders show up at 3 a.m. to teach me things, and just so they could pretend not to know me for the rest of the working day. So in the shadow of the night, they'd teach me how to chart. They'd teach me, what I should be looking out for in different aspects and trading options and learning all the products that there are in the FX markets. So really understanding those dynamics gave me this huge understanding of how the macro ecosystem really worked. And that's what drives me still to this day, is just understanding the behavioral changes that we can see and how that translates into the flow of money. And so for me, it was an obvious connector to how I got down into the crypto rabbit hole. It was personal, frankly. I was, trading at FX at Morgan Stanley, covering a lot of the largest hedge funds, and they were getting these great rates. I mean, we were moving hundreds of millions, billions of dollars without like maybe 2 pips or something. Rates that you'll just kind of go, what? When you're a regular Joe on the street trying to trade your FX. So I was in Hong Kong trying to move money back into the US, and then eventually Morgan Stanley wanted to move me to London. And I said, I got to move my money out of Hong Kong. And the rates were like 8% on a pegged currency, and I had to pay HSBC this spread. And I was like, just dagger. So I looked into Bitcoin and had a bunch of buddies back in Hong Kong. A couple of them have made a wonderful career out of it, talking about crypto and how it would really work and what made sense. So kept my eye on that while I continued to work in London. And then when I kind of after a couple, liquidity events you see in the markets in FX, you kind of go, maybe I got to zoom out and get into this tech world a little bit more, understand something beyond just money movement between the top bank accounts. And so I dug into what made sense for me and where my skill set could fit. And Ripple had this opportunity, and I saw kind of an underappreciation for this asset XRP. It was, to me at that time, kind of the competitive with FX Bitcoin. So you had the speed, you had the lower fees, you had the scalability, and that really attracted me to something. And I said, I want to build this out. And what it gave me was a wonderful opportunity to just dive in both feet into exchanges, market makers, custody agents, users, you name it, retail, institutional clients. So getting that full scope from kind of a unpresuming position, covering XRP, we weren't necessarily the darling. Got me a lot of hard knocks and a lot of doors, but really gave me this viewpoint that let me have a great position to then confront finance about coming over to the U.S. So I'm super grateful for every experience I have. I won't say it's an easy route to get here, but it's totally worth keeping after it. So if anyone's trying to learn something, I just continue to tell them pursue it until you wear out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's it's good advice as well. Before we started as well, the other thing you noticed was this picture of Hong Kong behind me, which is a pretty funny story about. I was in the FX world as well, and this is a picture that I somehow ended up with. It seems like there is a trend here. Traders in Hong Kong that were in the FX space or in the banking space somehow start an exchange. I talked with Arthur Hayes. He has a very similar story. Did you used to rub shoulders with Arthur Hayes before you guys both are now starting your exchange?
Arthur Hayes and I were really good buddies back in the day in Hong Kong, prior to us being anything in crypto. He was starting to dabble into crypto or Bitcoin right when we were, I was winding up my time in Hong Kong. But prior to that, nope, we were just two crazy kids, jumping off boats, having a good time, being sell side analysts and associates along the way. So I think it's good to stay friends with your colleagues from your past, people from your past. You never really know who's going to turn around. Another funny one is four of my interns at Morgan Stanley actually run Amber AI.
Okay.
So kind of the guys I voted for going from intern to analyst ended up now running a large liquidity provider, and they've just hired our former head of options to join them out of Canada. So, be nice to the people you work with.
Yeah. And then especially if they make the leap into crypto and they're working alongside you. Yeah.
Isn't everyone going to make the leap into crypto? It's just a matter of time.
I think a lot of people will. Yeah, I think a lot of people will. That's funny with the Arthur Hayes. I didn't expect that. I thought it was a long shot, but that's hilarious.
Oh, no. Good buddies.
Yep. Well, diving in.
I hope he vouches for me.
Well, I'll ask him. If we ever have a round two, I'm sure he will. Diving into Binance now, right? What everyone's anticipating, what a lot of traders and investors want to hear about. You're living it right now. This is probably a little bit crazy for you. What is phase 2 about? You're in phase 2 right now. I know phase 1 was announced last week, and Bitcoin Cash, BNB, Litecoin, ETH, all these, the first 7 assets I believe were listed. Where are we right now in this process? Kind of paint it so we understand what was phase 1, what are we in right now, and what's next?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to pull the Shrek line with the onions and multiple layers, so I'll keep it pretty simple. Phase 1 was really just getting live, opening up registration and allowing users to kind of start funneling in to see if we could, begin this exchange, get liquidity up and running. And tomorrow we'll see how healthy our order books can be. Highly recommend folks coming in early to get their deposits up and ready so we can have kind of healthy markets out of the gates. But this phase 2 is really just being able to provide that variety in the market that I think is important. So having the platform and having an open user experience, that's kind of phase 1, making sure we have that. And then phase 2 is really being able to provide the variety to the market that they've quite demanded for. It's something that we see a lot of the other groups having shied away from early on, but something that's been kind of true to the Binance spirit of being able to let people choose what they really want to be trading. And so I see that as something that we can bring as a differentiator to the market, as where we're able to see certain assets fit through our digital asset assessment, risk assessment framework. And kind of filter through that to make sure we're providing things at least up front to the customers so they know what's going to be able to be traded. But that's really something I'm excited about. So we launched today. We have 5 more coins that are going to be open for deposits, and they'll start trading on Wednesday. And so we kind of hope to keep this kind of cadence going a little bit. So keep people taking their input and keep the conversations going.
Nice. So people will be listening to this tomorrow. I'm going to get this out as fast as I can. But now, so tomorrow, are people able to trade right now? Like I've registered for an account. I've passed my basic verification. But what am I able to do? I'm able to deposit. And then when does trading actually kick off?
Yeah, that's my favorite criticism so far on Twitter. The volume is lame on Binance US. And I'm like, you bet it is. It hasn't even opened.
We're not live yet.
So, we're not live yet. So 9 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. So September 24th. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
September 24th. Yeah. Tomorrow is when trading will go live. So you'll have live order books across 7 pairs and then in dollars and USDT.
Okay.
So that'll allow us to get that first iteration out in the market, show the order books, get APIs up and running for folks that want to be using those. And then on Wednesday, the 25th at 9 a.m. Eastern time as well, you'll have the opening up of 5 more assets. So then a total of 12. So then plus USDT and USD pairs. So if you go through basic verification, you'll be able to do crypto to crypto trading. If you go through advanced verification, you'll be able to do crypto to crypto trading with a larger deposit and withdrawal amount. And then if you go through fiat verification, you'll be able to deposit dollars and withdraw dollars.
Okay. And
That's how it works. It takes about 20 minutes to go through the full process. It takes about 5 minutes to go through the first 2.
I was going to say it was quicker than that. It took me 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm not that fast with the computer. I'm setting this up and on the side, and it took only 5 or 10 minutes, so it was pretty easy.
It's something I took from my experience back in 2017 going through account setup, and I would wait weeks trying to get onto these exchanges. So something that we really took careful feedback in, making sure that it was easy to get on board. And, we were able to filter through and make sure that our kind of KYC process was adequate for the region that we're operating in.
You're not the only big launch this week. Back just launched today. Was that part of the plan? What is this exchange launch week? Did you guys know this ahead of time? How did that work out so nice that it's one day apart?
Yeah, it was like women run exchanges, much launched on the same week. No, I think so highly of Kelly and team. No, I did not mean to steal their thunder at all. It just happened that the fastest we could get out to market was Tuesday, and so we wanted to launch as soon as we could. Didn't want to hold off for anyone to wait. Kind of got too excited to reveal what we've been working on, and it's been taking a while with my head down this summer. So, it's the best time to launch for us, and we'll hope that everyone does well.
Yep. You mentioned with the launch that framework you're using to add features or add tokens that traders and investors want added, right? You want to listen to feedback from the community, and you got some of that feedback on the AMA. What is that framework? Are you going to make that public? I know Coinbase and some other U.S. exchanges made that framework public. They said, look, this is the type of variables we're looking at. This is what it has to pass. And then based on that, we'll give you guys a heads up. What's the policy, or what's the framework right now for Binance? Is that going to be public?
Yeah, I think it's going to be public. We're writing up that piece in nanoseconds right now.
Yeah.
But the expectation for Binance US and the market is to continue that transparent story that we've seen from day one of CZ's goals. So being able to provide that framework for folks just so they get a sense and kind of self-filter is going to be helpful for the market, so that they get a sense of what does fit in the gray areas that we're comfortable with and what just doesn't. And I think the more we get information from regulators, we'll factor in, of course, into our framework, and that ability for us to have kind of a repeatable standard of allowing us to evaluate tokens or features consistently is just really important for us to make sure that we're looking at this with clear eyes.
Yep. With I'm so curious on this, and it was one of the first things that popped into my head when we were going to set this up was, as I look at Coinbase and Gemini and their offering, Coinbase specifically, they're starting to add more tokens, right? So they've added Civic and BAD and all these tokens, a lot of the similar tokens that you guys are adding over at Binance US. Some of those tokens have performed terribly in terms of volume, and maybe that's just because it's still a bear market for alts. Maybe that's just because there still isn't a lot of new retail coming in like we had at the end of 2017 or early 2018. But is Binance America, is the plan to add as many assets as you can, or is it to really stick with the majors and the core assets that do the majority of the volume? Because I think whichever exchange, whichever company can really kind of make that framework or that decision the most effective will win out. Right now we're seeing Coinbase maybe experiment with some that just, there was $10,000 worth of volume on Civic. It's like, why is that on the exchange? So what's your thought process there, and kind of what's your guys' goals there? I know that we won't be able to list everything in America, just my guess, right? But what's the goal there? Are you going to try to list as many as you can, or keep it pretty narrow?
Yeah, it's like the people demanded it, and really it's just the person demanded it.
Yeah.
So there's not much trading going on there, but that one guy is super happy for it. So no, I mean, I think there's a dilemma that I face being having a trading background, and that's one of wanting to maintain liquidity. I was trading onshore Asian currency pairs, and I at times felt like I was the only person in the Indonesian market. And so I know how, gaps in price and illiquid markets aren't necessarily the best, but my God, there's a lot of margin in that. So, you can capture, a decent amount in that trade. So which entices people to continue trading, even if liquidity conditions are so poor. For us, I think it's really, we want to come out with a healthy market for folks to be able to trade on. The expectations for us starting out are reaching that depth of market that just hasn't even seen crypto yet. I think there's some nuanced ways of approaching it that we can address, getting in a little bit deeper. For us to win over the existing kind of crypto native folks, I think by now they've already decided what they're happy with on their trading platforms. So give us a shot. But I'm not here to convince you to move your systems over. It's just flow where the liquidity goes. So for us, that aspect of being a space where retail customers have had a comfort and coming to Binance systems before, that attracts the institutional guys. We kind of want that healthy balance. So I think there will be a time where there's less returns for adding more tokens, but I do feel like giving folks a shot allows for an ability to find what makes it work for you in digital assets. So is it, does one token get you in the door and you ultimately realize Bitcoin's great? Or is it Bitcoin that got you in the door and you want to diversify, check things out? So having those options is how we measure success. And I think that's really how the US should be treating these very, very early on markets. This is really just the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. I hope the U.S. continues to at least have an open mind about it, regulatory-wise.
Yeah, regulatory-wise and interest. The anecdotes of my own story coming into crypto have made people realize like it's not going away. And how can someone with such an institutional background and active interest in pursuing certain things go down this path? And I kind of am revealing to friends and family and saying like, no, this is functional. It's kind of entertaining the discrepancy or dilemma between my sister and I. She works for one of the top banks in a very practical product, and so we kind of hedge our lives.
Not only hedging the investments, hedging the life experience as well.
Yeah. I told her she can have New York and I get the world, and so far I'm working on it.
There you go. One of the things you brought up when talking about the end user's choice to use Coinbase or their existing system, I pick on Coinbase a lot because they're the U.S. exchange that a lot of people know, right? I don't want to pick on Coinbase at all. I like Coinbase.
They do a great job.
Yeah, they do. But the reason that I think, well, for me personally, and I know for a lot of other traders like Binance before we get into Binance US, is because liquidity is king, right? A lot of traders understand that if they want to buy or sell Bitcoin or buy or sell another token, specifically other altcoins, you kind of have to do it on Binance. And it's almost become a meme in this industry of, will this token be listed on Binance? Because that means it'll probably be around for a while. It used to be Coinbase, right? Could this token ever get listed on Coinbase? That means that it's going to be liquid. That means it's not going anywhere, right? All those different things. With Binance US, what can people expect with that, right? I don't think you're going to share liquidity. I think that Binance US and Binance have to be separate. Is the trading interface going to be the same? Like, how much of Binance US is going to be the same versus how much is different?
Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of people are, confused at the expectation. Why do we keep saying Binance US? Why do I exist? There's a lot of things that they're kind of going, this doesn't add up. And in truth be told, so I run BAM Trading Services, which is the local partner that gets to license the technology, both the matching engine, the wallet system, and several other components of Binance.com for operating Binance US. So we get to bring over a lot of familiar things and more so as we go down our roadmap. So the color scheme you'll recognize is rather similar, but we've adopted a couple of the aspects of it to really cater to the US market while keeping a lot of the things that bring users to the core system the same. So you'll notice the trading systems will look very similar, the layout of where your charts are, how to buy and sell, your market orders, et cetera. will all look very similar. Your APIs will be very similar, so that gives comfort to existing traders, that are familiar with the how things work on the mechanics Y side. The other aspects that we hope to bring over are ones that we've actually got to fight for ourselves. So liquidity. I hope that we will be just as strong of a liquidity source for all the coins that we're going to be able to list, and especially allowing US dollars as an on-ramp. But that's something we got to fight for. So, we're starting off from scratch. People have given me the criticism of like, this is a brand new exchange, what gives? And, the question is the hustle. So we've got, the Binance risk appetite spirit and a lot of horsepower behind us to get this thing up and running. I hope we make it as trader friendly. I said in the AMA, this conversation is just beginning between me and the rest of the US. So I take your feedback. I take your Twitter DMs. The amount of information we get from the market allows us to cater something specific for what people want to trade.
Yeah. I'm curious, and we don't have to go too deep into the regulatory stuff, partially because I'm not a lawyer and partially because it's not interesting to a lot of people, but it's probably the least interesting space of crypto, even if it is kind of the front lines.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Why can't Binance US just take from Binance's liquidity? Is it because it has to be a totally separate operation, or is it because it's now kind of more BAM trading with Binance US slapped on front, or what's the reasoning there?
Yeah, we're a very separate entity. So we're simply licensing software like you would see another company licensing the software of another company.
Okay.
Just with the ability to license the brand as well. So that's something that we're able to hold over. In this for the regulatory aspect, I think one of the things I was really excited about bringing BAM and Binance US into the fold was we were being able to be a clean slate coming into the US, something that I think regulators would look forward to and be able to mold us and follow through what they're looking for as we build out. So all of our data is going to be fresh KYC information. If you think about the last time people probably filled out those forms or did selfies, it was a couple of years ago, if not 10 years ago. So we've got fresh information for making sure that our users are active and real existing. We're able to roll out current state-by-state legislation. Oops, edit that. Current. Might kill that one. How do I answer this question again?
No, you got to figure it out. I was just asking, why can't, I guess, Binance pull that liquidity? Because I think that's going to be one of the only big differences when people do switch over, but it's just going to be one of those things where you kind of have to hustle and make your own market there. The reason I wanted to ask that, it wasn't just to trip you up on words and ask about regulation, which isn't too fun, and it's a hairy topic to get into, but it's because you look at other exchanges that maybe started in Asia, like Huobi, or you look at Beaxy is another one that kind of just popped up out of nowhere. But these U.S. exchanges that have tried to come to the U.S. and focus specifically on, you have to KYC, and we're pretty much going to try to be an altcoin exchange in the U.S. You look at Bittrex, who used to do a ton of volume, and now they've. I don't want to pick on Bittrex either, but I'm just saying the fact. No one trades on Bittrex now. How does Binance US? What's your competitive advantage to come in here and make this work in the U.S., where it's a market, it just doesn't do a lot of volume compared to the rest of the world?
Yeah, I think we're coming at a unique angle here that is been tested multiple times by very similar operations, with the expectation of a very successful global operation entering a very difficult U.S. operation, and that is my fight to win. So the idea that we can bring core features to the market faster than others, the idea that we can provide lower hurdles for market entry. We've got free fees until November 1st, and we'll continue to kind of encourage lower hurdles to entry for different types of users. I think we'll be able to address a different aspect of the market coming in with the angle that I have a trading background and kind of been focused on that mindset versus a tech background or a Silicon Valley understanding, or a very gray-haired Wall Street experience. I have enough years on my belt to be dangerous in that aspect, but not enough years to slow me down. So I think it's just a matter of us really wanting to hit the pavement and try things new and iterate each time, so that we can, really bring the adoption of crypto to a much larger audience.
Yep.
I see the ways that we can employ Binance US accounts in various different ways. I was talking to a friend of mine and understanding, how does he take payments for his personal business? Is this something that we could set up? Is this something that we can just iterate on? And he's a great guy. He's a mechanic in San Francisco, and he works specifically on high-end cars. So he had a great 2017, 2018 with everyone buying very nice vehicles and needing work on them. But he had one car they sold for Bitcoin, and they had to charge 20% because they didn't know how to handle it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, that would have been 20% in your pocket because you would have had no trading fees on Binance US.
Yeah.
So I think about things in a unique way that I really hope we're able to iterate on, and just bring that constant effort to the market.
Yep.
Persistence has paid off for me in the past.
Yep. With hearing you that you're thinking about those things, how long have you been thinking about these things? I asked CZ, we joked about this before this started. I talked to CZ, and I think one of the rules, with every single interviewer I have on, whether or not every guest I have on, whether or not it's a hedge fund, sometimes we can't talk about a specific strategy, or sometimes they don't want to solicit something, or with an exchange, sometimes it's, I don't want to talk about regulation. I think with CZ, when we talked, it was, I kind of asked about, do you view the US and Coinbase and Gemini and those as competitors? And he said, I don't really want to talk about the US, not because we couldn't, but just because he wasn't that interested, right? Binance's strategy has almost been regulatory arbitrage and not really playing the US market and moving around a lot. How long has this been in the works? Was he playing dumb and hiding this? And how long have you been thinking about these things?
Yeah, no, CZ was not playing dumb, and I've heard that from multiple people saying, like, they told us they'd never come to the U.S. and never say never. I believe prior to Justin Bieber, someone else said it, but I met CZ about a year ago in a great event where it allowed me to interact with different exchanges, different market makers, and really just hit it off with them. And our conversations continued around just simple, good relationships. They'd ask me if I knew someone, and I'd say, oh yeah, mahjong buddies with them, or, played bocce ball with them, just being able to put connectivity around who we were hearing in the space, and being able to validate some of the players that they were trying to interact with. And as this kind of continued on, I just kind of sat there sitting on my side while I was at Ripple, really frustrated with the infrastructure, allowing for access to XRP through US dollars, going like, how can I make this infrastructure better? How can I better the trading experience for the current user, the next year user, and the next 10-year users? Mm-hmm. And really just kind of began to spin that idea in their head that I was really passionate about bringing their technology into the US. I was a huge fan of, how they built it out, how they, considered their users first, in how they rolled out different features. And that was something that I said, okay, with your cutting edge technology and, the spirit and network and understanding that I have of the US market, let's hit it off. And so we kind of did. So I joined in June, and we're launching in September. So it's been a, as I say, like all hands on deck, like all feet, hands, head, everything. I've never worked more 24-hour days in my life, but it's purely out of passion. So it trips me up when I look at the idea that anything that I can do to better our marketplace is something that can be another day of advancement. So I'm pretty excited where we've come and how we've gotten here. But it's been about 6 months in the real formation shape, and it's now about to start walking.
That's wild. What else did I ask CZ? It was like margin, something else, and all these ideas that I think people thought were a year away. I brought up margin. He was saying, maybe we do that in a while, and 3 months later, it's like already launching. Everyone's already talking about Binance futures. So Binance definitely ships very quickly. I was just curious if this was actually hidden, or if you guys really did just continue to ship this quickly. Yeah,
I call it a Binance minute. I think the news hit, and the reporters said Binance US to launch in months.
Yep.
And I had been given like a couple weeks of my expectation. And they were like, in November it will launch. And I was like, are we still on for September, mid-September? Like,
Yeah,
is
that's
something
crazy.
changed? And it's like, nope, we can work really quickly. Partially because you've got really dedicated people and a system that doesn't want to play by a 9 to 5 rule.
Yeah.
So we're pretty dedicated bunch, and it's fun to find hungry people to come join me on this journey. And so I'm really excited to build out our team in San Francisco and continue, what we've built in the story so far.
You have a team in San Francisco, which I've heard CZ talk about this. I didn't speak with them about this, but I know that the team before this it's pretty decentralized as a company, right? A lot of people move around. I know CZ himself tends to just kind of be a nomad and move around. But now that Binance America is based in the U.S., you have an office in San Francisco. I think that's where you're located. What is that like? Is Binance US going to be more of a traditional, we have an office in San Francisco, or is the team still pretty decentralized? How does that all work?
Yeah, something I wanted to keep as part of the spirit in the U.S. was that kind of decentralized nation of I think they had something like 400 people on 40 countries or something that you were just like, wow. And it's true. The way that they work and the way that the company functions is such that you do not need to be sitting across from the person in order to get something done. The accountability level is just there. If it's not shipping, it's because of something that you're doing. So people are just present and always involved, which I think is something that's really important. In the U.S., we'll keep a spot here in San Francisco. I think it's a beautiful place to work in a 24/7 market. It's really relaxing when you need to unwind, and then it's really quiet at night, so you can keep working. But the other aspects, we've got people in DC as well, so popping up where we see fit. But I do think some of our core businesses will stay put in certain areas. But there's a total element of freedom that I invite others that join me to challenge and encourage.
Nice. One of the things, I guess, the less fun topic for Binance to talk about, but I have to ask it as a trader, and I'm sure that other people will also benefit from hearing you talk about it as well. Of that decentralized culture and this, not everyone's in one office, potentially there are some security and vulnerabilities there. And a while ago there was a Binance hack, and luckily the SAFU fund exists, so no client funds were lost, right? No one lost any money with that. You guys handled it, I think, very, very well. CZ handled it very well and was very transparent about it. How does Binance America deal with those issues? Does the SAFU fund cover them? I know Gemini, I think, has FDIC insurance. What does that look like for U.S. investors when they're considering, do I go with Gemini, who's insured? Do I look at Coinbase, or is Binance covered by SAFU? How do you guys think about that?
Yeah, so that's one of the features that have really provided a huge amount of comfort for users and something they've really enjoyed. Clearly, those types of features, when they bubble up to the top, I'm going to take them. So we are definitely opening up the same type of fund where the trading fees will be used to then protect customer funds. And in that aspect, we really hope to provide that same level of insurance people feel from .com.
Okay.
And so that's something that is clearly going to be adopted in Binance US in our model going forward. The extent to which we can get other forms of insurance and protection for our customers, we certainly will. And so we'll kind of go down that path of being able to provide, what we expect is market standard and plus two, plus more. Certainly want to keep that in front of mind. From a security element, that's something that we certainly keep very much locked down. Data privacy is a huge importance for us, and as we go through with onboarding our first customers, we're taking those procedures, or have already taken those procedures in place to really cement and protect what we can work on.
Okay, that makes sense from the company perspective. It's not a fun question, but I have to ask it. I have to stay.
No, it's not a fun question. Take the best practices and make them better.
Have to ask. Let's jump back into something that is a little bit more fun, especially for people that want to know what's coming to Binance. We're in phase 2 right now, which means trading kicks off tomorrow, as we said. But what's next? I know there's some features that probably won't get added. I don't know this for sure, but I can guess that margin won't be added in the U.S. IEOs won't be added in the U.S. But what can traders expect in phase 3, phase 4? I mean, how many phases are we going to get? What does it look like for Binance in the short-term future? What are some of those exciting things that you're getting ready to roll out?
Yeah, I think, I mean, for phase two, for us, it's getting trading going live and then being able to provide that variety to the market. And so I think we'll be in phase two for quite a while, but that doesn't stop us from getting phase three and phase four, five
Yeah.
ready to go. But if you just consider like the variety and the addition of more tokens down the list, that's kind of how we're viewing our next edition
Okay.
or complement to the market. The other aspects I see are some that are fundamental as we learn how the US is operating. Clearly, one of the things that stands out is mobile applications. I kind of feel like I'm going into battle with my arm tied behind my back, having only a desktop version for folks.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of it, so I'm fighting twice as hard. But the app rollout is certainly something in the works, getting that ready for iOS and Android as well. Just to be able to bring your trading experience with you on the go. I realize how mobile I am myself. It's not always great to carry around your equipment with you wherever you go. So being able to take that on the go, allow people to have it in their hands, something that's just natural to how the U.S. market works. It's a huge mobile adoption. Nearly everyone is looking at things, clicking at things from their phones. So we just need to take that in consideration and also apply the other aspects that we see are really crucial to the market. Huge aspect I see is just being able to not only forge forward, but bring people with us. So one of the aspects that I really enjoyed about Ripple was kind of the university blockchain research initiative that they've built out. So being able to take those courses and classes and help people learn more about crypto trading, get them comfortable with taking risk, get them understanding what it means to take risk. I think a lot of people early on got lucky and they, put in nothing and got a ton out and expected that's how the world works. And I welcome them to try the other side. So, the market owes us nothing. So we have to teach people the rules and the disciplines of the game. And I think that's just something that I want to be able to do, realizing that we are beginning to see waves of kind of generational involvement. That we need to remember to look back and go, okay, well, who's the 18-year-old that's going to turn into the 30-year-old in near time, and we need to have them fluent in crypto.
Yep. I like those initiatives, especially the app. I think that's lacking in crypto. Even desktop applications. I mean, everything's still web-based. So even having a desktop application that works for Windows, works for Mac, works for all those, and then plus obviously the mobile. So I think that's something that a lot of traders are going to be looking out for. Glad we got to learn about that. To wrap this up, thinking about risk, how you just answered that question, what's one of the risks as you look out? I know you just launched, so you have a lot of things going on, but looking out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what's the biggest risk you see that scares you, genuinely scares you for Binance US? And then also, what are you most excited about? Kind of why are you doing this? I know in your AMA you answered you kind of piggybacked on CZs, and I think that's why you guys work so well together was, I want to make crypto available to as many people as I can. And since I'm from the US, that's making it available in our home market. So what's the biggest risk? And also, why are you doing all this? What excites you about crypto looking out at that same time period?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest risks, and it's been the biggest risk my whole life, has been stagnation. So the ability that you are put in neutral and not going forward or not being able to accelerate is something that just scares the life out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, even on a beach, I am not the stagnant person. I've built a sandcastle and I've learned how to sail. So the idea of that momentum not going forward in digital assets, especially in the US, is something that frightens me. If we have kind of this level of uncertainty that prevents growth and causes paralysis of activity, that's something that can really damage us for the long haul. And I think we need to just take note of that idea that stagnation, and if we aren't creatively iterating on what we're doing, we might just be siloing our conversations. So I think it's even the idea of, as crypto Twitter, do we need to evolve to TikTok? Do we need to evolve to different mediums? I'm constantly trying to think about, what's the next better way of communication or connectivity that we can work with that will allow us to take risks and go down the path of accelerating this adoption, so that people are settling their golf bets over Binance US, and people are, interacting with it in a more natural way that you forget that it's actually part of your life. So that's one of the risks and kind of the positive I hope to see. The real joy I get out of this is bringing financial literacy to a full group of Americans. There's a huge problem of people not understanding what it takes to earn a dollar, what it takes to keep a dollar, what it takes to make a dollar.
Yep.
And so being able to bring a product that can transparently teach you why things are moving in ways and understand the simple dynamics of supply and demand that can allow you to take your own earnings in your control. I think it's super empowering. And it's empowering man, woman, child, dog, neutral. It is a force that I think everyone should be able to have and own themselves. And that's really up to them to decide, how they can achieve what they spend it on, what they need to use it for. It's all up to them, but knowing how it works is crucial to me.
I love it. Catherine, what are you going to do to take some time off? I know you've been flying. What are you gonna, you have a lot of stuff going this week. Getting away from the crypto stuff, how are you relaxing this week as we drop the podcast tomorrow? Are you doing anything besides podcast, besides operational Binance launch stuff? How are you going to get away this week? A fun question to wrap it up.
These AMAs and podcasts are actually my brain.
Yeah, they're easy. I guess that's true. It's easy.
They're pretty nice.
Yeah.
I'm not filing for bank accounts. I'm not doing,
There you go.
I'm not doing a lot of the hard work. So I'm enjoying the conversations. I think I've got a couple of conferences in the pipeline coming up. So human interaction will be a positive for me.
Nice.
It's been pretty fun to be the only employee for out of the gates and building that team up. So getting a little bit more interaction live with the market will be better than just hiding behind my screens. Other than that, what I do to unwind, love a good long walk around Crissy Field. So if you see me in that same hoodie or the Binance US one, say hi. Don't run after me, but say hi. I walk that strip quite a lot just to unwind and realize how beautiful the world is we get to work in.
Nice, good deal. Well, I imagine you're going to have a lot of people wanting to say hi on every AMA. Hopefully not at the park, but hopefully on your walks. I want you to have the free time.
I might start the AMAs on a walk.
There you go.
I haven't seen activity interacted with tech since Pokemon Go. So we might bring that out. Trading talks.
There you go. CZ's found a ton of new ways to be transparent and interact. I imagine you're going to do the exact same. So we'll be looking out. I'm sure that a ton of people listening to this right now are also going to be tuning in. Catherine, thank you so much for finding the time to do this. I can't say how appreciative I am of your time. And I'm sure a lot of people learn about Binance as well. What can they do now? They can sign up. I'm sure I'll put a link right below this. You can sign up to Binance. Trading is live when this drops tomorrow. And phase 2 and phase 3 and every other phase after that will be coming out on Twitter. I'm sure you'll be updating
follow Binance America for your real-time updates. Crypto Coley will be a little slower to retweet those things because of working on multitasking in that aspect. Sure. But definitely sign up for your account, provide your feedback. Your input is oxygen to our tank, so we're able to really iterate and build what you want when you speak up. So thanks.
Catherine, thank you so much. Every trader, investor, especially US based, that are wondering right now, are we even going to have an option, as a lot of exchanges are closing their doors? Binance is giving you that option with Binance US. Link is right down below. Thank you everyone for listening and tuning in. Catherine, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.